Okay, so as you can see, these are the only PowerPoint slides you will get for the file processing. And this is the you only want to know that much of the material. That's it. I mean, you don't have to go in depth. You just need to know how you can create a file and how you can write a simple code using the file processing topic. Let's get started. I will go over a little bit of the slides just to give you a little glimpse of what it looks like. So first, when it comes to the file processing, we have to import our java.io statement, which is just like you imported java.util. It will be java.io. And then we will be creating our, from here, this is one way, which is creating a file object using the file. What we will do is we will use our scanner to directly create a file. Which I did over here. The next step is this. We will avoid that part. We will see. I will show you the shorter way of combining these two lines. Oh, here it is. Okay. So from here, I think I can directly jump on to the code and we can see. So let's open your Eclipse. Oops, I have to share. I just opened my Eclipse without realizing I have to share my Eclipse. Okay, so I have created a video and posted a video showing you how to create a file. That is one way. The another shorter way of creating a file processing or creating a file is, is from Eclipse. In my video, I have shown you how you can create a file using the workspace folder. But if you don't want to go in that part, sometimes students do mess up with the files where they have to create. If you mess up the location, you cannot use the shorter way. You have to write the absolute part, not the relative part. So let's get started. I will be removing this previous code I have. And then we will, depending on the time, I have programming questions for file processing and we will see. So first thing, whenever you are working with the file processing, there are a couple of steps, just like when we were working with the scanner, when we were about to take the input from user, I mentioned like these are the steps, you can write it down. So again, I'm telling you, take out your notes. If you take notes on papers or if you take notes on a word pad or something, take notes. And you need to memorize it, I would say, because these are the steps. These must be on your fingertips. This is important. If you see a file processing question, maybe your programming question starts with write a static method which reads a file. It means it reads a file. It means our first task is import. What just happened? java.io.star and semicolon. So it means we have input output. It's like to take the input and output. This is IO means. So public class, first program, whatever the class name is, it doesn't matter. This is our first step. Our second step will be throw an exception. So it's just like going for the bungee jumping and you sign a form that no matter what happens, if my rope just cut by accidentally or I just, a hook came off and I died during that process or during that jump, I take the full responsibility, right? So the same thing like this over here, that you have to throw the exception, that you fully take the responsibility, exceptions, that no matter what happened, I know this is going to happen. So this is how you going to handle it. So with your main method, so this is what I'm telling, because if you come to my office hours and I tell you, hey, with your main method, do this. And you're like, where is the main method? Where is the main method? I don't know where is the main method. At this point, this is not acceptable. You must know this is your main method. Public static void main, it says main. Throws is the keyword. And what we will do is we will throw the exception. This is already built-in exception. In your slides, you will see how you can create your own. Same exception, you can create your own over here in this code. But it's like a couple of steps which you can just learn. I will directly use the Java built-in exception, which is file not found exception. You need to throw that there is a possibility the file I will be calling or creating may not exist. So there is no error. Make sure each and every word letter is capital, F capital, N, F, and E are capital. Make sure there is no spelling mistake in your code. I want you to open Eclipse and do the code with me so that you can see if your file works. This is kind of like your first week where students may get errors that their Eclipse is not working. So for this piece of code, you may also receive errors that your file is not working because you may have messed up one of the steps. So this is your second step. You need to throw the exception. It's throws and make sure there are no errors at this point. File not found exception. This is with your main method. After this, what we will do is we will create our scanner object, and I will call my scanner, as I will be using this scanner to read the file. So I will be giving it object name as file, so that I know this is for file, equals to new scanner n. Now inside of new scanner, what we usually do was system.in. Remember, system.in means take the input from user from the console. But what we are using this scanner for is to read the file. So I will say new is the keyword, and I will say this is the file, and parenthesis, double quotation marks, write your file name. Have we created a file yet? No, we have not created any file. So that's where I'm just giving any name. And that's why there is an exception that this file, there's a possibility this file don't exist, right? So I'm giving any name. So my file name is myfile.txt. What's the extension of your file? Like, you have to write that extension. It's a text file, and no errors on any of those numbers. If you're seeing any errors, put it in the chat that I'm having some errors. Then we'll figure it out, like what's wrong with the code. So this is how this is your third step. Step number 1, step number 2, and step number 3. That scanner file equals to new scanner, new file, and myfile.txt. This is your file name, myfile.txt. Everything is lowercase, and this is case sensitive. So if you create a file where you make your M capital or F capital, then that's case sensitive. It won't be the same. Okay, so now after you have, this is like the file. Now this file object, just like the scanner, you say scanner input equals to new scanner, and that input is in charge of all the things. Same over here, it's in charge of all the things. So for example, you say like, I want input to take integer values, input to take double or character, anything, or a line or a string. That input was in charge, same as file. So if you have to do anything from the file, if you have to read something from the file, write something in the file, you have to call this object, that this file dot whatever you want to do. Now I want to explain the simple concept of which is kind of a shortcut. You can memorize it, write it down. These are like, I would say, shorter way of recognizing and doing it. Whenever we are doing a file processing programming question, which loop do you think is more suitable, for loop or while loop? And give me the reason. For loop or while loop? Oh, it's really hard. Now, in the chat, I think everyone is still coming up from that, busy weekend. While loop. Can't be sure of the file size. Yes. So every time you have a file processing question, I tell my students like, hey, there are like partial credits. When you have a programming questions, there is a high possibility of getting partial credits. So even if we will do a programming question right now, which I will show you. So try to get the free points. The free points are in front of you right now. Like, you have to import file.io, whatever the programming question is, and we have to do, you have to throw the exception, we have to create the file object. And which loop? We know every time it is going to be a while loop, right? So it's going to be a while loop no matter what. Now in file processing, there are two types of methods we have to call and identify. What are the two types of method? It's quite similar to scanner, so you can relate it with the scanner. So it's like has next int, and has next double. You have seen these methods before. And has next line. So these are the methods. They are returning you true or false, right? They are only telling you true and false. So all of these methods will go either in your loop or in your if condition, right? So if you're writing a loop, or if you're writing an if condition, one of these methods will go. That is there an integer to read? Yes, true or false. It will say true. Then you will go inside of that loop and then do whatever you want to do. And do whatever you want to do. It's quite related to, if your while loop has a method has next, it will be dot next inside, so that it do the increment. And then you have has next int, it will be dot next int. So it's these lines are must. These lines, all of these methods are must when you are coming inside of the loop, because that's how your file is moving and you're doing an increment. In your files, all the words are known as tokens. They are separated by a space. So just imagine that maybe I'll show you the file. So if you imagine that this is your file, so this is a token, this is a token, this whole word is a token, one token, because there is no space. So it's looking for a space. So has next int, if your while loop has used has next double, so inside you have to make sure that you do dot next double, so that it takes that value and move it to the next token. And same as dot next line, so that you use or move to the next line. With dot next, with the next line, it's a simple, a little bit different than with this rest of these methods. I will show you how, and I think it will be in our next class with dot has next line. But for right now, make sure that you have these in your notes, and these are done. Okay, I'm removing this, and we will be jumping on to our code. Okay, is anyone taking any notes? Okay, let me clear all the drawings and close the annotate part. Now let's come back. So right now we don't even have a file, right? But we are assuming that maybe our file has a string, which is a quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So let's say we will write that part. Anything we can write. This is my first Java program. This is my first file processing program. We can write anything. This is our file. Now let's use while loop. While our file, yeah, why we are using while loop? Because we know that we don't know the size of that file. So run this loop as long as you have words in that file. So file dot, if we are looking for words, which are strings, what do you think? Which has next you have to do? As this is while, so it means one of the has next method will go. So it means it will be has next. And if you are not identifying this, if you don't differentiating the double or the integer, this has next in the file will take everything, numbers and double as a string. So file dot has next. Now it says true. Yes, you have a word to read. You go inside, and let's say we are printing. You can do anything. System.out.print. I'm just printing on the same line. Read the file, and before that, if you have that word, it means your cursor is pointing at that word. Yes, I have a word to read. And then you have to take that word. So as that word is a string s equals to, I will say file dot next. Remember my notes, which I just did, that if I have has next in the loop, it will be dot next here, so that it increments and the cursor moves to the next word. And then system.out.print. Let's say I will print whatever the word this user has taken. And then what? System.out.print space. Make sure that you have a space so that it prints with a space. Anything we're missing? No errors. Now go to Windows. If I run this code, there will be an exception because there is no myfile.txt exist. Now, how you will be creating a file? How you will be creating a file? Let's go to Windows. Everyone, kindly follow the steps, or you can take notes. Show view and go to project package explorer, so that you have this on your side, whatever the. So this file, wherever your file is, so make sure that in which whatever the project is. So you have to do right click on the project. I only have one project, so it means my file is there. New, and you will say untitled text file. right click on the project. Don't right click on your class. Don't right click on your SRC folder. Just right click on your project, do new, and select untitled text file. All set? Click on it. And this is your file. So what we were supposed to write, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. After you have written some words in your file, you can make spaces, randomly write anything somewhere else. Do Control S, save from your keyboard. Control and S at the same time. You will see this window. Select this project, wherever you have created that the project where your class file is, week 1. This is the file name. Remember your file name you have mentioned in your code? What was the file name? What was the file name? myfile.txt. No spaces, no capital. myfile.txt is your file name. Make sure you mention .txt. Just to make sure you have selected the project. You will have multiple projects. I have only one. Okay. Done. You have a file. Now go back to your, was it test.java? No, first program, I think. Now let's run and see if our code works. If not, we will find out why. So this is my output. I have not written anything in my code. This was written in my file. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And according to my code, it just went over my loop went over the file. It took all the words and have printed in one line as I given the task. Any questions so far on this code? Anyone having any errors? Anyone having any errors? Do you want to share your errors? Write it down, what the error is, or do you want to share the screen? Under the next, Alex, do you have an error under the next? Like, okay, someone wants to share their screen. You can share your screen one by one so that I can see. Okay, who's sharing their screen first? We have to be very quick at screen sharing. Be ready with the question and be ready with your screen. Because we have a programming question to jump on. So show me your errors. Make sure that you have followed the step how to create the file.
Yeah, so I have a error shows like this whenever I run the code. It shows like this, enter numbers and something. I don't know why.
It's running your previous code. So there is an error in your file processing code. Share your screen.
Yeah, I already shared my screen.
I don't see it.
Oh, wait.
Is anyone else seeing it? Let me stop my share. Okay, now share it. Okay. So where is the error?
See, down there, right here.
Import java.io mean close file not exception. Your code looks fine. Just to string find out next. I think your file must be outside. So how did you create your file?
Right here. I
Right
just
click.
put the
No, you
uh,
cannot directly go. Yeah, that's what I said. Right click on your week 10 folder. Right click, then say new, untitled text file, and just type ABC, anything. Yeah, and Control V and Control S. Select the project and give it a name as my file 1 or 2, yeah, txt. Yeah. Okay, and now go back to code and change my file to my file name
where is it?
in your code. My file where you have written my file.txt, change it to my file 2.
Okay,
this
my
one.
file 2.
2. Yeah. Now run your code. Contain a main type. So there is an error, it says in your main method. Close the outline up there. Close. Show me your full code.
Oh, okay, wait a moment.
Oh, java.io. Okay, so Sonu got your error java.io instead of java.jo. Yeah, now run. I think it's your previous file also going to work. Wait, at the bottom, at the red square, keep on clicking. Screen just got shorter. Wait.
Where is it?
Okay.
Right here?
File not found exception. Yeah, this one. Keep clicking it. Keep clicking it. Okay. Now let me see. Public static void main string throws file not found. And stars on the line. Now try running it now.
It shows the first. Oh, wait. Maybe this one tech load.
It's running your previous code. So there is an error in this code which you have created. So sometimes that's the reason it's not run, it doesn't run your code. But it doesn't show the syntax error, so we're missing something. Yes, new file, F capital. In your where you're saying new scanner, new file, make your F capital.
S capital?
F, where you say new file on line number 7. Not this one, the other one. This one. Yes. Let's try. Okay, again, you have to click on cross on that red square. Okay, now run. Strange. File dot has next. A couple of small errors, which is strange. Like usually those are syntax errors, which has been fixed so far. Do.txt. Wait, you don't have the src folder. Where is your src folder? How you created the Java file?
Oh, so I just go here and wait. Oh.
Yeah, you
From
don't have
here,
the src folder. Your Java program. Yeah, right click on it. New. In class. Package default. Give it a name, something else. And to finish, still you don't, your project is wrong. You have to redo the project because you're in your other files. Do you have the SRC folder? Click any of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you do
have
have
it.
it. So yeah, you're missing the SRC folder, so that's why it's not detecting your Java file. So create the file again, or move your my file and Java file to one of the other folders in the SRC. Put it in the SRC folder.
I just deleted this one, and
You have to move your Java code and the file in the SRC folder of any of the other projects. Just open week 9, maybe. Week 9. Yeah, in the SRC, open SRC folder. Yeah. Drag your first program.java from week 10 and drop it to SRC in the default package. Default package. Yes, here. And same with my file 2.txt. Yes, okay. Just say okay. Yes. Oh, there is already a file first program. Now take my file 2.txt and drag it to week 9 project. Yes, here. Yes. Now run your first program.java. Yes, click on it, run. Now you can see, as you have used ln, it is printing in every.
yeah, one by one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, anyone else having any errors? You want to share your screen or you figured it out? Great, you fixed your error, no worries. Anyone else? Who was else? There were 3 students. No? Okay, so this was a learning phase for everyone. Okay, so when any student share their screen, so you learn that these are the technical things you have to look for. And great job over students who picked the capital F and they picked the IO part. Good job. So that's how you learn to look at the technical parts and try to fix the errors. Okay, so now let's jump on to our programming question, which is gonna scare you a lot. So let's take a look. Let's share screen. Where's my Word document? We have a few minutes left. Here's to scare you. Okay, read it out. This question going to cover the integer part, which we have not done. Read out this question. Let me I cannot do Control A. As you can see, write a static method, but it also talks about, all the previous things we have done. So again, when we are doing the programming question, it's going to build up. Let me put this question in the chat. I'm not sure about the formatting. It's going to mess up, but read it out. Let me zoom in. Oops. Okay, read out the question. Write a static method called switch data. I want you to take a picture of this question so that I can reference, when I ask question, you can tell me like what I'm asking for, okay? Write a static method. So it means we have to write a static method. That's your one point. You know how to write a static method. They are outside of the main, but inside of the class. Method name is switch data that takes as a parameter a scanner containing a label followed by a sequence of integers, and that prints to system.out. System.out is your console, just like how we printed the same information with each successive pair of integers switched in order. For example, suppose that the scanner called data contains the following tokens. So when it says parameter scanner, what does that mean? That your static method must accept parameter as scanner. Do you know where this statement will go? Half of the solution, or I would say the The key terms are in your code. So you can highlight this parameter as a scanner part, highlight the method name, highlight the static method, and highlight like where you have to print it. System.out means it's going to be on the console. Now, for example, this is the data. It means this is your file. These are your file as it's referring it to token. So everything is a token separated by a space, integer, double, string. So everything is a token, and they say we can assume that every line starts with, with a string and then followed by all the integers. And what we are doing is, and they're calling it a label. So first you take the label, read the label. Label is a string. And after reading the label, after the label, we have series of 6 integers. If we make the following call data, like this is the method call, switch data, and you're passing this file, the method should produce the following output, which is, as you can see, it has switched the pair 1, 2 with 2, 1, 3, 4 as 4, 3, and 5, 6 as 6, 5. And this is printed on the console. So this is what you're printing. Notice the first pair of integers is just explaining what I just said in this order. So for example, if the scanner had another call instead of like this, then the method would have produced the following output where you are like switching the first two, the other two, and then last one remains the same because there is, if you have an odd number and nothing else to the swap, so the last one remains as it is. Okay, so there will be always a 1-word label. So don't mess up the code because we are not bound to handle extra uncertainties, like if you put integer first or if you put a double first, you don't supposed to. We are assuming, so our code must assume there is a label and then list of integers. Okay, so let's get started. Open your Eclipse. What do you guys, how many of you think you can solve this code? How many of you think you can solve this code? Do a poll and let me know that you can solve this code. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. So let's get started. You have the question with you. It's in the chat as well. So first thing first, as we are reading a file, we are writing a static method. So we will start with the things we already know instead of starting with how we will be switching the data and stuff like that. So if we are reading a file, import.java.util, because our file will use the scanner, we are working with file java.io. This is our class name, main method, and main method must have like the throws file not found exception because we are working with a file. So these steps are there. Nothing changed. Scanner file equals to new scanner, new file. We have to create like reading a file. Everything is happening here. Now we have to write a static method. So I will be removing this part. And for static method, you have to go outside of the main, but have to remain inside of the class. Public, static, and are we returning anything? Is there a return keyword? Was there any return keyword in your question? Yes or no? Are we returning anything? We are not returning anything. It will be void. And what is the name of our method? Switch data, right? And what we are accepting, what is the accepting? What are the parameters of that code? You have to read the question very carefully. That's how you will learn how to solve a programming question. What we are accepting. We haven't started the code, the actual solution yet. We are accepting, yes, we are accepting a scanner object. So how you will accept a scanner object? You will accept just like you do a scanner object. So scanner, you will say it's file, or maybe you can say input because you can use file up there. So just to avoid the confusion. So scanner input like this, we are accepting a scanner. Now what? Do we know how many integers and labels are there? So it says in our question that we can assume there is a label, right? So there is a label, but we don't know how many integers are there. So as there is only one label, do we need a loop for that label? Do we need a loop? Yes, no, We don't need a loop because there is only one label. So for that, we don't need, so we can give it a name as, because that's just one string label equals to, now who knows the label? It's this input. Remember this was scanner, and how you read a string? As dot next. That's how you read a string. And this will give you, for example, it was February 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So February is taken. When you said dot next, the cursor is moved to the integer automatically. Remember. Now what? We have to read the integers and take two integers. When we are reading the integer, because right now our cursor is pointing at something and we don't know, there might be no integers. So while what? While what? Your input, yes. Dot has next int. Do we have an integer to read? It says yes, you have an integer to read. We will go inside, and when we go inside, we need our first value equals to, how you will get the first value? Input dot next. It has taken the first value where your cursor was pointing. Sorry, not dot next int, because it's an integer. So after taking the first value, now what? You have to check. Is that was the only one value, or there are more values to read, right? We need to swap, we need another value. And to check that part, we will check if there is another value to read. So how to check? If you recall where I started my lecture, I said all the has next methods will go in your while and if conditions. So this is the same thing we will do. We will say if input dot has next int has another integer value to read. If it has another integer value to read, give it to me, equals to input dot next int. So we have just taken the values out right now. Now what we want to do is we want to swap. And as we are not returning anything, we don't have to keep track. What we will do is we are just directly going to print. So let's print the label first, as this label is printed first time. So it will be outside of the loop, system.out.print, because they have to be in the same line. I will say just the label. Sorry, label, concatenation operator, double quotation marks, and space. After printing the label, this is the second value. So as we are swapping, so we will print the second value first. So system.out.print. Again, it's going to be the print, and to concatenation operator space. After printing, so if this is true, then if it's not true and this was the only value, then print that value here, like outside of my system.out.print. Oops. And print my N1, concatenation operator, double quotation mark, space, and semicolon. Oops, semicolon will be at the end. Like this, right? I think that's it, like 1, 2, space. Now let's go back here, and we are reading our same file, myfile.txt. What we will do is, as we are printing inside, I will call my method name, which is known as switch data, and I will pass my file, semicolon. Now let's go back to my file, my file.txt. I have to change it to, let's say, January, because we need a label, and then let's say 4 space 5 6 space 7 space 2 space 1. Let's go with the even number first, run our code and see what we get. So okay, I forgot what I had in the file. I think it did swap. Yeah, let's do it in the order. Let's go back to my file, because I forgot how did I swap. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Run. And 2, 1, 3, 4, 6, 5. As you can see, the values are switched, And this was our task for the code which was provided. Any questions so far? I have something in the chat. Okay, nothing. Any questions? Get an output. Let me see. Let me stop the recording.